Alright students, let us talk about connective tissue over here. Connective tissues help in connecting, that means making connections between different parts of the bodies. Examples include our blood, bones, cartilage, tendons, ligaments, areolar tissues, adipose tissues. Wherever you find connections between two organs, two bones, two components, two particular structures, that constitutes the connective tissue. Okay, so in the sequel of connective tissue, we have firstly loose or areolar connective tissue, in which mass of widely scattered cells, those matrix are loose, weaved, or you can say particularly intercrossed between each other. Like you have saw the weaving mats or woven mats through which fans or hand fans or sometimes the chapais are being made, right, or chatais that are being, you can imagine the structure of that. That's how these fibers interlock between each other and themselves and form the loose or areolar connective tissue. All right, so many of these fibers are strong protein fibers made up of collagen and found beneath the skin and between the organs. Whenever you may have seen or you may have encountered any kind of injury, you may have found those little lines or striations or particularly stretch areas. That is particularly your loose or connective tissue. It is binding and packing material whose main purpose is to provide support and to others tissue and organs at its place, to hold the organs at particular place. All right, as we know, we humans are dynamic, we humans are not stationary, we move, we perform functions, and in order to keep the orientation of some organs intact, these particular tissues have to be loose, all right, to maintain the equilibrium or to maintain the structural integrity of a particular individual, right? Next is adipose tissue, made up of adipose cells or adipocytes filled with fat globules. As you can see, these particular structures are swollen and wide because of adipocyte, because of adipose tissue present in between them, or fat globules present between them constituted adipocytes, and these adipocytes combine together to form adipose tissue. All right, so each adipose cell stores large droplet of a fat and swells and shrinks when fat is used up. All right, so it swells up when fat is in abundant or in excess amount of a particular person, and shrinks or consumes or utilized when it is particularly required for, and the cells gets shrinked. Adipose tissue pads insulates the animal body. In many animals like polar bears, like koalas, etc., huge adipose cell tissues, huge adipose tissue deposits have been found, which intended to keep them warm, especially the polar region animals, etc. Okay. So now if I talk about fluid or vascular connective tissue, this particular tissue or connective tissue maintains links at the different parts of the body, and it constitutes transport systems of animals, mainly made up of blood and lymph. You know, transport of oxygen, transport of waste substances, transport of food related components or nutritive components are being performed with the help of blood and lymph, not just in animals but in humans as well, right? So that is connective tissue or fluid vascular tissue for you. Now we have blood. Blood is a bright red fluid connective tissue, and it is alkaline or basic in nature with a pH of 7.4, like slightly basic, not neutral. And plasma is straw colored liquid, yellowish color liquid with a 90% composition based upon water. Okay, this is particular one section where we can see different components of blood, mainly RBCs, WBCs, red blood cells, white blood cells, plasma, and platelets. Red blood cells are also known as erythrocytes. If I talk about red blood cells over here, or if I talk about red blood cells, they are known as erythrocytes. The WBCs or white blood cells are known as leukocytes, and platelets are known as thrombocytes. Alright, so we are going to discuss about each of these cells in detail later. Now we have functions of blood where RBCs have hemoglobin and mainly transports the oxygen. WBCs form defense system and protects the body from foreign particles, and platelets are important mainly for blood clotting. Okay, so like in this tabular form we can understand different components of blood along with their functions. So in RBCs, also known as erythrocytes, as I said, most abundant cell, 40% in number. When we talk about between in these three, nature, living cells, enucleated nucleus is not present, so their life is defined mainly of 120 days. Okay, the production of RBCs occurs or starts in bone marrow and they destroy at spleen. Okay, so they are flexible, dish-shaped, discoid shape, contains iron-containing protein called as hemoglobin, and hemoglobin is the main component or heme iron part, mainly Fe2 plus part heme, which gives it red color. Okay, it is formed in red bone marrow, 120 days lifespan, and exchange of gases during respiration is the main function that RBCs perform. Now, WBC is also known as leukocytes, 1% in abundance. Living cells, nucleated, flexible, irregular because of their different variabilities and size. They are not pigmented, they again form in red bone marrow and spleen, that is variable. And they protect us from the infections. The main defense of our body or immunity of our body is being regulated by WBCs. Platelets, also known as thrombocytes, where ratio of RBCs to platelets varies from 1:10 to 1:20. Okay, non-living cells, enucleated again, they are mainly of lens shape, like convex shaped lenses, and hemoglobin is absent here. They again form in red bone marrow and they have a lifespan of 8 to 10 days and they mainly perform clotting of blood. All right, so this is in a gist to let you know about the functions and everything about these main three cells. Okay, along with it, lymph is a very important component of the blood, filtered blood which is similar to blood, and it is devoid of mainly RBCs, platelets and some blood proteins. WBC is present in lymph, and due to absence of hemoglobin, lymph is mainly colorless. One more thing I would like to state or to point out is whenever we get sick, whenever we get any kind of infections, these particular areas where lymph is stored are known as lymph nodes. They are known as lymph nodes. These are mainly observed or these are mainly checked when a particular person is suffering from any kind of infection because they swell up. Okay, so if you visit a doctor in near time soon, or if you have observed that, then you must have seen that doctor particularly palpates or tries to feel lymph nodes over here, over the other sides of the body. So that is the function, you see. So it helps in the transport of nutrients, transport of fats. Lymphatic organs produce lymphocytes, which in turn produce antibodies and strengthen the immune system of the body. Now, we are going to be continuing our connective tissue with the furthermore topic, that is fibrous dense regular connective tissue. All right. So dense regular connective tissue or CT is a white flexible tissue that contains tightly packed bundles of collagen fibers. Like I explained to you how bundles of collagen fibers are arranged, in which molecules are being into the place. All right. All of these fibers run in one direction and are arranged parallel to each other. Okay, so they run from a singular direction and they are particularly parallel so that muscular contraction can take place. Okay, so the tissue, wherever it is located and based upon its functioning and significance, tissues are furthermore classified. So first we have part of the tissue, that is tendon. Tendon are cords of dense white fibers connective tissue that attach skeletal muscles to bones. Okay, so tendon mainly connects muscle to bone, right? Skeletal muscle is a kind of a muscle, so it connects muscle to bone. All right, they have greater strength, but their flexibility is limited. As by this line, we can predict or conclude that they are very strenuous, means high performance activities, high performance weightlifting activities involve the use of tendons. But when it comes to locomotion and movement, tendons are not that good even, right? So second part is ligament. Ligaments are mainly cords of elastin, that is yellow fibers, connective tissue containing elastin as the pigment, as the main chief component, and very less collagen fibers in matrix that connect one bone to another. So here ligament connects one bone to another. That is a bone to bone connection we are observing here. Okay. So here you can say how a ligament and a tendon is situated or in place, right? Now we talk about skeletal connective tissue. It mainly consists of bones and cartilages that provide strong supportive framework for the body. Whatever the structure that I am in, that you are in, you are sitting in at home and watching it, all of these muscles that are arranged over a specific manner is all possible with the help of skeletal muscles. All right. In this connective tissue, matrix contain numerous fibers and in some cases deposits of soluble calcium salts. To be specific, calcium phosphate. Calcium phosphate. It is the chief component of any, we can say, skeletal muscle. Whenever it is being talked about the compound that is present, that is calcium phosphate. In scientific formula, it is Ca3PO4 whole twice. Okay, so I hope that is clear with everyone. Now we talk about bone in general. That is a particular section of bone observed under microscope, where these particular arrays or these particular areas are being found that are known as Haversian canal. The cells that are present through which fibers are being originated are known as osteocytes, and the interconnections between them is known as canaliculi. And this particular one section or one system basically consists of one osteon. So if I talk about bone singular unit or observing unit osteon, an osteon contains all these three structures that are being in place. So let us understand furthermore. Bone is the hardest connective tissue, helps in maintaining the shape and posture of the body. It protects internal organs, rich in collagen fiber. That's why they are very rigid and solid, and calcium, which gives strength. All right. Now, what is the function of bones? It provides support for muscle attachment. It protects internal organs from mechanical injury, serves as reservoir for calcium. Other than that, stores and releases minerals, facilitates movement, support the body, produce blood cells. As I spoke to you about in the early of this chapter, that red blood cells are produced at the bone marrow. So bone marrow is the mid portion, or the, you can say, particular portion through which a bone grows. For example, if I am observing this bone, that is femur, this is the mid portion through that which elongates and stretches the bone. This is the same portion where bone marrow is present. Now, to state that bone marrow is the region, or this mid portion is the region where red blood cells are being produced. All right, and you know the significance and importance of red blood cells that we have discussed earlier, right? So production of blood cells stores and releases fats and protects internal organs, right? So these are the functions of bone. If I talk about cartilage, it is a connective tissue with abundant number of collagen fibers in a rubbery matrix, right? Just like a rubber or eraser that you use. The matrix is made up of proteins and sugars, both strong and flexible but softer than bone. Basically, it also provides particular kind of shape, but it is not as rigid or as solid as a bone is, right? It allows some movement of the particular structure based upon the functioning and usage. For example, this nose, right? So what we observe about nose is that there is a nasal bone that completely not terminates at the tip, right? So from nasal bone, we have particular cartilages that come in continuation for the bony, for the nose structure, where we have upper lateral cartilage. Upper means at the upper part, lateral means that towards the side, that is over here. And then the lower lateral cartilage, which provides the bulge, yes, that you may observe. This is provided by lower lateral cartilage. So these two cartilages are the terminal portions of a particular nose. And if someone may observe a skull, I know spooky enough to say about it, but if you observe skull, you may find it that you don't find nose there, right? Reason is that this is not ossified, this is not completely having calcium phosphate as the component, therefore which after the death of an individual, this particular cartilage degenerates and we don't have remains of this particular structure. I mean about the cartilage at all right?